This story is about a woman who signed her own death warrant with a single stroke of her pen. Amara Okafor had everything. A thriving company built from her parents' legacy, a man she loved beyond reason, and a best friend she trusted with her life. But trust is a dangerous currency. In one devastating night, the two people closest to her heart conspired to take everything: her company, her family, and her final breath. They watched her drown and toasted to their victory. But death wasn't the end for Amara. She woke up in a stranger's body in a dusty village, with nothing but memories of betrayal burning in her chest. Now she's returning to the world that killed her, not as the woman they murdered, but as a ghost they never saw coming. Amara Okafor was signing her own death warrant, and she didn't even know it. Her hand trembled slightly as she held the pen over the document. Something deep in her stomach twisted with warning, but she pushed it away. Love meant trust, didn't it? And she loved Diego with everything in her. "Baby, what's wrong?" Diego asked, his voice smooth as honey. He stood behind her desk, watching her with those dark eyes that had first caught her attention at the business conference 6 months ago. "It's just a prenup. Every couple does this." "I know," Amara whispered. But her father's voice echoed in her mind, something he'd said before the cancer took him 2 years ago. "Amara, my daughter, guard your inheritance like you guard your life. Not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well." She looked around her office at Okafor Holdings, the company she had bled to build. The framed photo of her parents on her desk stared back at her. Her mother had died when Amara was 20, leaving her alone with her father. Then her father passed, leaving her completely alone in this world, except for her best friend, Beatrice. And now, Diego. "Where is Beatrice?" Amara asked suddenly. "She promised to review this document with me." "Traffic, babe. You know Abuja." Diego's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Come on, we have dinner reservations. Just sign it so we can go." Amara's throat tightened. She had built this company from dust. After her father's small import business nearly died, she had worked day and night for 10 years. She missed weddings and funerals. She ate 1 meal a day to save money. She slept in her office more times than she could count. Every brick in this building was soaked with her tears and sweat. And now she was signing away 40% of it because the man she loved asked her to. "Diego, I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "This company, it's all I have left of my parents. My father started it. My mother kept the books before she died. When I sign this, I'm giving you a piece of my family's soul." For just a moment, something flickered across Diego's face. Was it guilt? But it vanished so quickly she thought she imagined it. "And I will guard it with my life, my love," he said, placing his hand over hers. "We're going to be family. What's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. Isn't that what marriage means?" Amara nodded, blinking back tears. Yes, that's what it meant. She was just being paranoid. Diego loved her. He had held her through countless nights when the loneliness of running a company felt like too much to bear. He understood her in ways no one else did. She signed the document. Diego immediately pulled out his phone and made a call in Spanish, speaking so fast she couldn't follow. But she caught 2 words. "Está hecho." It is done. "I need to pick up my parents from the airport," she said, standing up. Her legs felt weak. "They're coming from the village for our introduction ceremony next week." Wait, her parents were dead. Why did she just say that? She shook her head, confused. The office suddenly felt too hot. I need to go home. I'm not feeling well." "You work too hard, baby," Diego said, kissing her forehead. His lips felt cold. "Go rest. I'll see you tomorrow. Amara gathered her things and walked to her car in the parking garage. Her phone buzzed. A message from Beatrice.
Amara, we need to talk. Don't sign anything until we speak. This is urgent.
Her heart stopped. The message was sent 2 hours ago. Why hadn't she seen it? She tried calling Beatrice, but the phone went straight to voicemail. Panic rose in her chest like floodwater. She scrolled frantically through her messages and found another one from an unknown number. Miss Okafor, this is Attorney Ibrahim. The document Diego presented is not a prenup. It's a shared transfer agreement. Call me immediately. The parking garage spun around her. Her breath came in short gasps.
No. No, no, no. What had she done?
She ran back toward the elevator, her heels clicking frantically on the concrete. She had to get that document back. She had to stop whatever Diego was planning. But as she reached for the elevator button, strong hands grabbed her from behind. A cloth covered her mouth and nose, smelling sharp and chemical. She struggled, tried to scream, but her limbs grew heavy.
I'm sorry, Amara,
she heard Beatrice's voice say.
But some of us were born to struggle. You had your turn at the top.
Beatrice? Her Beatrice? Darkness swallowed her whole, and Amara's last conscious thought was the crushing weight of betrayal. Not just from Diego, but from the one person she had trusted more than life itself. Amara woke up drowning. Water filled her lungs, cold and suffocating. She thrashed wildly, her arms hitting metal on all sides. The car. She was in a car underwater. Panic exploded in her chest as she clawed at the door, but it wouldn't budge. Through the murky water, she could see shadows. Her parents slumped in the front seats, not moving. Blood clouded the water around her father's head.
Mama! Papa!
She screamed, but only bubbles came out. Her lungs burned. Her vision darkened. This was it. This was how she died. Betrayed by the man she loved and the friend she trusted. Murdered in cold water with her parents beside her. The darkness swallowed her completely. And then she was gasping, sucking in air that tasted like dust and dried grass. Amara's eyes flew open. She was lying on a hard mat in a small room with cracked cement walls. Sunlight streamed through a tiny window. The smell of burning firewood and animal droppings filled her nose. Where was she? She tried to sit up, but her body felt wrong. Smaller, weaker. She looked down at her hands and her heart stopped. These weren't her hands. They were rough, calloused, with dirt under the fingernails. Her smooth, manicured fingers were gone. She touched her face frantically. Different cheekbones, different nose.
What is happening to me?
She whispered.
Hannah! Hannah, get up, you useless girl!
The door burst open and a woman stormed in. She was about 50, wearing a faded wrapper, her face twisted with anger.
The Obiora family will be here in 2 hours for the introduction, and you're still lying there like a corpse. Get up!
Amara stared at the woman, completely confused.
Who are you? Where am I?
The woman's eyes narrowed. Oh, now you want to play mad. After that pig kicked you in the head last week, you think you can act crazy to avoid this marriage? She grabbed Amara's arm roughly. You're Hannah Adeleke, and today you're marrying into the Obiora family, whether you like it or not. Hannah Adeleke? Marriage? Memories that weren't hers flooded into her mind. A girl named Hannah, 23 years old, whose mother died when she was young. Her father remarried a woman named Patience, who brought her daughter, Rejoice. After Hannah's father died, Patience and Rejoice took everything and sent Hannah to the village. treating her like a servant. Now they were forcing her to marry a stranger because the Obiora family needed a bride for their disabled son, and Patience wanted connections to their wealth in Abuja.
I'm not Hannah,
Amara said slowly.
I'm Amara Okafor. I own Okafor Holdings. Diego and Beatrice killed me and my parents.
The slap came fast and hard.
Shut your mouth with this madness,
Patience hissed.
You will go through with this marriage. Do you know what connections the Obiora family has? This is the only useful thing you've ever done.
Amara's cheek burned, but her mind was working. This was impossible. Reincarnation, soul transfer. She was practical and logical. These things didn't happen. But here she was, in someone else's body, in a village that smelled like poverty. And if she was truly alive again, that meant one thing. She had been given a second chance.
Where is this Obiora family from?
Amara asked quietly. Patience stopped, surprised by the question.
Abuja. They own Obiora Enterprises, one of the biggest companies in the country. The son you're marrying, Arinze, was in a car accident 3 years ago. They say he can't walk anymore. Can't have children either.
She laughed cruelly.
Perfect match for a useless village girl like you.
Abuja, the same city where Okafor Holdings was headquartered. The same business circles where Diego was probably celebrating her death right now. Amara felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. Determination forged in fire. Fine, she said, standing up. I'll marry him. Patience blinked, clearly expecting resistance. Well, good. She shoved a bucket of water and soap at Amara. Clean yourself up. Try not to look too much like a village rat. After Patience left, Amara walked to the cracked mirror. The face staring back was young, pretty in a simple way, but worn down by hard work. Hannah's face. Hannah's body. I'm sorry, Amara whispered to the girl whose body she now inhabited. But I won't waste this chance. As she washed, she made a list in her mind, the way she always did when facing business challenges. Step 1. Marry this Arinze Obiora and get to Abuja. Step 2. Find out what happened to her company after her death. Step 3. Get close enough to Diego and Beatrice to destroy them. Step 4. Take back everything they stole. The old Amara would have called the police, trusted the system, and believed in justice. The new Amara, the one who drowned in betrayal and woke up in poverty, knew better. Justice wasn't given. It was taken. 2 hours later, dressed in a simple, traditional outfit, Amara stood in the compound as expensive cars pulled up. The Obiora family had arrived, and her new life was about to begin. The first person to step out of the lead car was a man in his 60s, wearing an expensive agbada that screamed wealth and power. Chief Obiora. Even from a distance, Amara could feel the authority radiating from him. Behind him came a woman in an elaborate gele and jewelry, clearly his wife. Then 2 younger men, probably Arinze's brothers, looking bored and superior. Finally, servants opened the door of the last car, and a wheelchair emerged. Amara's breath caught. The man in the wheelchair was nothing like she expected. Arinze Obiora was probably in his early 30s, with sharp features and intense eyes that seemed to see everything. Even seated, she could tell he had once been powerful, athletic. The accident had taken his legs, but not his presence. Their eyes met across the dusty compound, and something electric passed between them. He studied her with an expression she couldn't read. Curiosity mixed with something darker. Suspicion, maybe. Patience rushed forward, bowing so low that Amara thought she might kiss the ground.
Chief Obiora, sir. Welcome, welcome to our humble home. This is Hannah, the bride.
Amara stepped forward, keeping her head down the way a village girl would. But her mind was racing, cataloguing everything. The way Chief Obiora's driver stood, ex-military. The designer labels on the brothers' clothes, old money, not new. The slight limp in Mrs. Obiora's walk, hip replacement, recent. Old habits die hard. Even in a new body, she was still reading people like balance sheets. "Look up, girl," Chief Obiora commanded. Amara raised her head, meeting his eyes directly. Too directly. A village girl would have looked away, but she forgot herself for a moment. Chief Obiora's eyebrows rose. "Bold. I like that." He turned to his wife. "What do you think?" Mrs. Obiora circled Amara like a buyer inspecting goods. "She's pretty enough, healthy looking. Can she cook, clean, manage a household?"
Yes, ma,
Patience said quickly.
Hannah is very hardworking, very obedient.
Liar, Amara thought, but she kept her face neutral. "Come here, girl." Arinze spoke for the first time. His voice was deep, educated, with an edge that suggested he didn't suffer fools. Amara approached the wheelchair. Up close, she could see the intelligence in his eyes, the sharp assessment. This man was nobody's fool. "They say a pig kicked you in the head last week," he said bluntly. "Are you simple-minded now?" One of the brothers snickered. Mrs. Obiora looked mortified, but Amara saw the test in Arinze's eyes. He was pushing, probing, trying to see what she was made of. The old Amara would have been offended. The new Amara recognized a fellow strategist.
"No, sir,"
she said quietly.
"The pig taught me to watch my surroundings more carefully, to see danger before it strikes."
She paused.
"I won't make that mistake again."
Something flickered in Arinze's eyes. Surprise? Interest? He leaned back in his wheelchair, a small smile playing at his lips. "Father, I'll take her," he said simply. Mrs. Obiora gasped.
"Arinze, don't you want to spend more time?"
"I've seen enough." He turned his wheelchair toward the cars. "We'll do the traditional introduction next week. Have the bride ready to move to Abuja in 3 days." Just like that, it was decided. Amara was going to marry a man in a wheelchair, move to Abuja, and somehow find a way to destroy the people who murdered her. As the Obiora family prepared to leave, Arinze paused next to her. "You're not what you pretend to be," he said softly, so only she could hear. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'll be watching you." Before Amara could respond, he was gone, wheels crunching over the dusty ground. Patience was celebrating, already counting the bride price in her head. Rejoice stood in the doorway of the main house, glaring at Amara with pure hatred. But Amara barely noticed. Her mind was spinning. Arinze suspected something. He was smart, observant, and dangerous in his own way. She would have to be very, very careful. That night, lying on her mat in the dark, Amara allowed herself one moment of grief. She thought of her parents, dead because of her trust in the wrong people. She thought of her company, probably being stripped apart by Diego and Beatrice right now. She thought of the life she had built and lost. Then she wiped her tears and made a promise to the darkness. "Diego, Beatrice, I'm coming for you. You killed Amara Okafor, but you created something much more dangerous. You created a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to gain." 3 days later, she left the village for Abuja, riding in the Obiora family car toward her revenge. But first, She had to survive being married to a man who already suspected her secrets. The Obiora family mansion in Abuja was everything Amara remembered about wealth. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, servants everywhere. But she had to pretend she'd never seen luxury before, gasping and gawking like the village girl everyone thought she was. "Don't touch anything," Mrs. Obiora warned coldly as they entered. "Your room is in the East Wing. You'll take your meals separately until the wedding ceremony. And stay away from Arinze unless summoned." Amara nodded obediently, but her mind was mapping the house, calculating distances, and noting security cameras. Old instincts never died. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her heart racing. Somewhere in this city, Diego was living in her apartment, running her company, probably sleeping with Beatrice. The thought made her want to scream. But screaming wouldn't help. Strategy would. The next morning, she woke to the sound of shouting downstairs. Curious, she crept to the staircase and listened. "Father, we're losing the Transcorp contract!" One of Arinze's brothers, Jonathan, sounded desperate. "They say our marketing proposal was weak. If we don't secure this deal, we'll lose millions." "Then fix it," Chief Obiora snapped. "I've tried, but the competition is—" Jonathan paused. "It's a company called Martinez Holdings. They're new but aggressive." Amara's blood turned to ice. Martinez. Diego's family name. He was using her stolen shares to build his own empire, while her company's name was probably buried with her body. "Let me see the proposal," Arinze's voice cut through the argument. "Brother, you're not in the business anymore," Jonathan said, his tone dismissive. "Focus on your therapy." "I said, let me see it." Amara heard papers rustling, then Arinze's sharp intake of breath. "This is garbage. No wonder we're losing. The entire strategy is wrong." "Then you fix it," Jonathan shouted. "Oh, wait, you can't. You're stuck in that chair, remember?" The silence that followed was thick with rage and humiliation. Amara didn't think. She just moved. She walked down the stairs and into the sitting room where the men were gathered. Everyone turned to stare at her. "What are you doing here?" Mrs. Obiora demanded. "I said, the problem is your target demographic," Amara said quietly, looking at the papers spread across the table. "Transcorp is expanding into rural markets. Your proposal focuses only on urban centers. You're solving yesterday's problem, not tomorrow's." Dead silence. Chief Obiora's face turned red. "How dare you?" "Let her speak," Arinze said, his eyes locked on Amara's face. Amara's heart pounded, but she stepped closer to the table. This was dangerous. She was revealing herself. But if she wanted access to the business world, she needed to prove her worth. Transcorp needs a partner who understands both worlds, city and village. Your proposal shows them the logistics and infrastructure. Show them people instead. Show them how your distribution network employs local communities. Show them impact, not just profit. Jonathan laughed mockingly. "Listen to the village girl giving business advice. What do you know about—" "She's right," Arinze interrupted. He was studying Amara with laser focus. Transcorp's CEO just returned from a charity mission. He's looking for partners with a social conscience. How did you know that? Amara's mind raced. She couldn't say she'd done business with Transcorp before, in her previous life. "I watch the news," she said simply. "Even in the village." "Rewrite the proposal," Chief Obiora said suddenly, pointing at Amara. "You have 24 hours. Mrs. Obiora gasped. "Husband, you can't be serious." "I'm very serious. This girl sees what our expensive consultants missed." He turned to Amara. Fail, and you'll go back to that village before the wedding. Succeed, and you'll have a place at this table." Amara bowed her head to hide her smile. "Yes, sir." That night, she worked in Arinze's study, rewriting the entire proposal. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, muscle memory taking over. This was her language, her world. Around midnight, Arinze wheeled himself into the study. "You're not Hannah Adeleke," he said without preamble. Amara's fingers froze on the keyboard. "I don't know what you— Don't lie to me." He wheeled closer. Hannah Adeleke was barely literate. She could hardly write her name, but you— He gestured at the screen. "You write like someone who's run a company before. Your analysis is MBA level. Your strategy is sophisticated." Amara's mind raced through options. Deny? Confess? Run? "So who are you really?" Arinze demanded. "And what are you doing in that girl's body?" Before Amara could answer, her phone buzzed. She looked down at the screen and felt the room tilt. It was a news alert. Business mogul Diego Martinez announces engagement to Beatrice Chen, plans to merge Martinez Holdings with former Okafor empire. There was a photo. Diego and Beatrice smiling at a press conference, and behind them, a large portrait of Amara Okafor with the caption, "In loving memory." They were celebrating. Standing in front of her picture, pretending to mourn her while they divided up her life like spoils of war. Something inside Amara shattered and reformed into something harder, colder. She looked up at Arinze, and in that moment she made a decision. She needed an ally, someone smart enough to help her, powerful enough to be useful. "My name is Amara Okafor," she said quietly. "And the man in that photo murdered me." Arinze stared at her for a long moment, his face unreadable. Then he laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You're insane. Amara Okafor is dead. I went to her funeral 3 weeks ago." "You went to my funeral?" Amara whispered, her voice breaking. "You knew me?" "Everyone in the business world knew you. You were brilliant, ruthless, unstoppable." His eyes narrowed. "And now you expect me to believe your soul jumped into the body of a village girl?" "I don't expect you to believe anything." Amara turned back to the computer, her hands shaking. "But I am going to destroy Diego Martinez and Beatrice Chen, with or without your help." Arinze wheeled around to face her directly. "Prove it. Tell me something only Amara Okafor would know." Amara's mind raced back to her old life. 3 years ago, Okafor Holdings was bidding on the same government contract as Obiora Enterprises. We both lost to a smaller company, Chen Industries. You suspected bribery but couldn't prove it. 2 weeks later, you were in that car accident." She paused. "It wasn't an accident, was it?" Arinze's face went pale. "How could you possibly?" "Because Diego's father worked for Chen Industries before he embezzled money and killed himself. The connections are all there. Diego has been planning revenge on everyone he blamed for his father's death for years." Her voice hardened. "He just made the mistake of including me on that list." The room fell silent, except for the hum of the computer. "If what you're saying is true," Arinze said slowly, "then Diego Martinez is more dangerous than anyone realizes. He's been systematically destroying his enemies. Yes. And now he has my company, my money, and my reputation." Amara pulled up the news article again, staring at Diego's smiling face. "But he made one mistake. He left me alive." "You're not alive. Amara Okafor is dead and buried." "Exactly." Amara turned to face him, and for the first time since her rebirth, she smiled. "I'm a ghost. And ghosts can go places the living can't. Over the next week, Arinze became her secret ally. He gave her access to Obiora Enterprises' files, connections, and resources. In exchange, she rewrote their entire business strategy, winning not just the Transcore contract, but 3 others. Chief Obiora was stunned. Mrs. Obiora was suspicious. Jonathan was furious. "Father, you're letting this village girl make decisions worth millions," Jonathan complained at dinner one night. "This village girl just made us 15 million naira," Chief Obiora said, looking at Amara with newfound respect. "She's earned her seat at this table." But Amara barely heard the praise. Her mind was focused on one thing: getting close enough to Diego to destroy him. The opportunity came 2 weeks later. "There's a charity gala tomorrow night," Arinze told her, rolling into her workspace. "Diego Martinez will be there, so will Beatrice. They're announcing their engagement publicly." Amara's hands clenched into fists. "I want to go." "That's insane. If they recognize you." "They won't. They think I'm dead and I look completely different." She turned to face him. "I need to see them. I need to understand what they're planning." Arinze studied her for a long moment. "Fine, but I'm coming with you, and we're doing this smart, not emotional." The next night, Amara stood in front of the mirror, wearing an expensive dress Mrs. Obiora had grudgingly lent her. She looked nothing like the Amara Okafor who had died. Hannah's face stared back at her, younger, softer, unknown. Perfect camouflage. The gala was everything she remembered about high society. Fake smiles, expensive champagne, people measuring worth by designer labels. She walked in on Arinze's arm and heads turned. Not because they recognized her, but because the Obiora family rarely made public appearances since Arinze's accident. And then she saw them. Diego and Beatrice stood near the bar, laughing with a group of business people. Diego wore a custom suit, probably paid for with her money. Beatrice wore diamonds, probably from her company's vault. They looked happy, victorious, in love. Amara felt something dark and cold wrap around her heart. She had loved these people, trusted them, and they had murdered her without a second thought. "Steady," Arinze murmured beside her. "Remember the plan." The plan was simple. Observe, gather information, stay invisible. But then Beatrice saw her. Their eyes met across the room, and for a split second Amara saw recognition flicker in Beatrice's face. Not full recognition, but something. A ghost of familiarity. Beatrice leaned over and whispered something to Diego. He turned to look at Amara, his eyes narrowing. "We need to leave," Arinze said urgently. "Now!" But it was too late. Diego was walking toward them, Beatrice at his side, both wearing pleasant smiles that didn't reach their eyes. "Arinze Obiora," Diego said smoothly, extending his hand. "It's been too long. I heard about your accident. Tragic." "Diego Martinez," Arinze replied coldly, not taking his hand. "I heard about your sudden fortune. Interesting timing." Diego's smile tightened. Then he turned to Amara. "And who is this beautiful woman?" Amara's heart pounded so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. This was the man who had held her while whispering lies. The man who had kissed her forehead before ordering her death. "This is Hannah," Arinze said. "My fiancé." Beatrice's eyes widened slightly. "Hannah? What an interesting name." She stepped closer, studying Amara's face. "You look so familiar. Have we met before?" Amara forced herself to smile, keeping her voice steady. "I don't think so, Ma. I'm from a small village. I've never traveled to the city before this." "Strange," Beatrice said softly, her eyes never leaving Amara's face. "You remind me of someone I used to know very well." The air between them crackled with tension. Diego was still watching Amara with that calculating expression. "You must miss your friend," he said to Beatrice. "What was her name? Amara?"
"Every day,"
Beatrice said, her voice dripping with false grief.
"Amara Okafor was like a sister to me. Her death broke my heart."
Liar. Murderer. Amara felt rage burning in her throat, but she swallowed it down.
"I'm sorry for your loss,"
she said quietly.
"Thank you."
Beatrice touched Amara's arm, and it took everything in Amara not to flinch.
"You know, you have her eyes, the same shape. Isn't that strange, Diego?"
Diego's expression darkened. "Very strange." "We should go," Arinze said, his hand tight on his wheelchair. "Hannah isn't feeling well." They were turning to leave when Beatrice called out,
"Wait! Hannah, was it? There's something I need to ask you."
Amara stopped, her heart in her throat. Beatrice walked closer, so close Amara could smell her perfume, the same expensive brand she used to buy for Beatrice as birthday gifts.
"Do you believe in ghosts, Hannah?"
Beatrice asked, her voice barely a whisper.
Amara met Beatrice's eyes without flinching. "Ghosts aren't real, but karma is."
Something flickered across Beatrice's face. Fear, maybe, or guilt. Before she could respond, Amara turned and walked away with Arinze, her head held high. In the car, her hands finally started shaking. "That was too close," Arinze said. "They suspect something."
"Good,"
Amara replied, her voice hard.
"Let them be afraid. Let them wonder. Fear is a weapon too."
Over the next month, Amara moved like a chess master, each move calculated and precise. She used Obiora Enterprises' connections to quietly buy shares in Okafor Holdings. Small amounts from different investors, nothing that would raise suspicion. She gathered evidence of Diego's embezzlement, his father's crimes, and the forged documents he'd used to steal her company. And she fell in love. It happened slowly, then all at once. Arinze understood her in ways no one else could. He didn't just see Hannah, the village girl. He saw Amara, the warrior fighting for justice. He supported her plans, sharpened her strategies, and somewhere along the way, his hand holding hers felt like home. "I need to tell you something," Arinze said one night as they worked late in his study. "I knew Amara Okafor before she died." Amara's heart stopped.
"What?"
"I met her at a business conference 2 years ago. We talked for hours about expansion strategies and market trends." His voice grew soft. "I thought she was the most brilliant woman I'd ever met. I wanted to ask her out, but she mentioned her fiancé, so I never did." He looked at Amara with intensity. "When I heard she died, I felt like the world lost something irreplaceable." Tears burned Amara's eyes.
"Arinze."
"I know you're her. I've known for weeks." He reached for her hand. "And I'm telling you this because I want you to know. I'm not helping you because you're using Hannah's body. I'm helping you because you're you. Whoever you are, whatever name you carry, I love the woman sitting in front of me." Amara couldn't hold back anymore. She kissed him, pouring all her gratitude, hope, and love into that moment. When they pulled apart, she was crying.
"I don't deserve you,"
she whispered. "No," he agreed with a small smile. "You deserve justice, and we're going to get it." The final trap was set 3 weeks later. Amara arranged a board meeting at Okafor Holdings, using her accumulated shares to demand that Diego's financial records be audited. Diego fought back, but the other board members, suspicious after Amara's lawyer presented preliminary evidence, voted to investigate. The night before the audit results were announced, Diego called Beatrice in a panic. Amara knew because she'd hired someone to tap his phone. "We need to disappear," Diego said. "The audit will expose everything. My father's embezzlement, the forged transfer documents, all of it."
"What about Amara's shares?"
Beatrice asked. "Forget the shares. We need to leave the country before—"
"Before what?"
Beatrice's voice turned sharp. "Before they find out we killed her?"
"Diego, if we run, we look guilty."
"We are guilty!" Diego shouted. "Or did you forget we staged that car accident? That we murdered 3 people?" Silence. Then Beatrice said quietly,
"We need to eliminate the threat. Whoever is pushing this audit, we need to silence them permanently. Just like we did with Amara."
Amara stopped the recording, her blood running cold. They were planning to kill again. She called the police immediately and arranged a meeting with Diego and Beatrice, claiming she had evidence that would clear their names. She set the meeting at a warehouse in the industrial district, the same area where they'd planned her original murder. When Diego and Beatrice arrived that night, they found Amara waiting in the shadows. "Who are you?" Diego demanded. "You said you had evidence." Amara stepped into the light.
"I do have evidence. I have recordings, documents, and witness statements. Everything I need to prove you murdered Amara Okafor and her parents."
Beatrice gasped.
"You're that village girl from the gala. How did you—" "I'm not just a village girl."
Amara pulled off her headscarf, letting her hair fall loose. In that moment, with the light hitting her face just right, something of the old Amara showed through.
"I am the ghost you created."
Diego's face went white. "No, you're dead. I saw your body."
"You saw what you wanted to see. But Amara Okafor doesn't die so easily."
She took a step forward.
"You betrayed me. You murdered my parents. You stole my life's work. And now you're going to pay for every single crime." "You're insane,"
Beatrice whispered, but her eyes were wide with terror.
"Maybe,"
Amara agreed.
"Dying and being reborn does that to a person."
Diego suddenly lunged at Beatrice, pulling out a knife. "This is your fault! You told me she had to die! You planned everything!"
"Diego, no!"
Beatrice screamed, but police burst through the doors before he could strike. They'd been listening to everything, recording every confession. As officers handcuffed Diego and Beatrice, Amara walked up to them one last time.
"You asked me if I believed in ghosts, Beatrice,"
she said softly.
"The answer is yes, because I became one, and I haunted you every single day until justice found you."
Diego was screaming, confessing everything in his panic. The staged accident, the embezzlement, the murder plot. Beatrice was crying, begging for mercy. She never gave to Amara's family. Amara watched them being dragged away and felt something inside her finally settle. Not quite peace, but close enough. Arinze rolled up beside her, taking her hand. "It's over."
"Yes,"
she whispered.
"It's finally over."
3 months later, Amara stood as CEO of Okafor Holdings again, with the Obiora family's full support. Diego and Beatrice were in prison for murder. The company she'd built was restored, stronger than before. But the real victory wasn't the business or the justice. It was standing at her parents' grave with Arinze beside her. No longer just Hannah or just Amara, but someone new. Someone who had died and been reborn into something stronger.
"Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Papa,"
she whispered to the headstones.
"I kept my promise."
I made them pay. Arinze squeezed her hand. What now? Amara looked at him. This man who had loved her through two identities, who had fought beside her for justice, who had given her a reason to live again. Now? She smiled through her tears. Now we build something beautiful. Not just a company, but a life. A real one. And for the first time since her death, Amara Okafor, once murdered, now reborn, felt truly alive. This is the end of the story, but not the end of Amara. She learned that betrayal doesn't destroy us, it transforms us. The woman who once signed away her legacy out of love became someone who reclaimed it through fire. Diego and Beatrice thought they had buried a problem. Instead, they planted a seed of vengeance that grew roots they couldn't escape. Some might call her resurrection impossible, but perhaps the universe has a way of balancing its scales, of giving the wronged one final chance to make things right. Amara Okafor died trusting the wrong people. She was reborn trusting herself. And standing at her parents' grave, hand in hand with the man who loved her through 2 lifetimes, she finally understood. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's building a beautiful life from the ashes they left behind.